Hello everyone. Now we'll start with the part 2 of the second chapter, that is sources of corporate finance. In this part we'll learn regarding the types of shares, that is equity shares and preference shares, and we'll learn regarding their features. So first we'll start with the equity shares. Equity shares, we know these are the shares which do not have the preferential rights regarding the repayment of capital as well as rate of dividend. So they are the ultimate risk bearer. Even they are known as the real owners of the company because they can participate in the management of the company and even they have the voting rights. We'll start with the features of equity shares. So first, that in fluctuating dividend. We know that the rate of dividend of equity shares is fluctuating. It means it depends upon the profit earning capacity of the company. It means if the company earns huge profit, they will get high rate of dividend. If the company earns less profit, they will get low rate of dividend, which has been recommended by the board of directors. So the income of the equity shares is uncertain and irregular as it depends upon the income or the profit of the company. Now second, rights. Equity shareholders, they generally enjoy certain rights. Equity shareholders, they have the basic rights regarding voting. Even they can elect the directors. Even they have the right to alter the memorandum and articles of association of the company, which are the most important document. Second, that is right to share in profit. They have the advantage to share in the profit of the company which has been paid to them in the form of dividend. Next, that is right to inspect books. Equity shareholders, they have the right to inspect the statutory books. Statutory books means these are the official records which has been kept by the company relating to the legal matters. For example, register of members, register of directors, etc. Next, right to transfer shares. So equity shareholders, they enjoy the right to transfer the shares which has been laid down in the article of association of the company. Transfer the shares means that is they can easily sell or purchase the shares in the open market. Now next, that is permanent capital. So equity shareholders, they are known as the permanent capital of the company as the amount has not been refunded during the lifetime of the company. It will be refunded only at the time of the winding up of the company or if the company decide to buy back its own shares. So the equity share capital is the long term and the permanent capital of the company. Now next, no preferential rights. We know very well equity shareholders, they do not enjoy any preferential rights regarding the repayment of capital as well as fixed rate of dividend. Next, that is controlling power. The board of directors, they are the manager of the company, and this board of directors, they are elected by the equity shareholders. So board of directors, they are the elected representative of the equity shareholders on whom the powers of the companies are vested. Even the equity shareholders have the power to write the vote in proportion to their shareholding. Next, risk. They are the maximum risk bearer, or we can say they are the main risk takers, because if the income of the company falls, the rate of dividend will also come down, due to which the market value of the shares will also be less, and due to which the company has to bear the capital loss. Next, residual claimant. It means the last claim on the earning of the company. Means whatever the profit has been earned by the company, at last it has been paid to the equity shareholders. Means after paying interest of the debt, then even the dividend of the preference shareholder, then at last whatever the profit is left, out of that only the dividend is paid to the equity shareholders. On the other hand, the advantage is given to the equity shareholders. It means if the huge amount of profit has been left, the equity shareholders will get the high rate of dividend. Next, no charge on assets. Equity shareholders generally, they do not get any securities over the equity shares. Means no charge on the assets. Next, bonus issue. So bonus shares are issued to the equity shareholders as a gift, that too free of cost, only to the existing equity shareholders, that too out of accumulated profits of the company and in proportion to the holding of the equity shares. Next, right issue. Right issue, it means the priority given to the existing equity shareholders in future if the company want to raise its capital for its expansion by way of issue of equity shares. So at that time, first the preference will be given to the existing equity shares, that is known as right issue. Next, face value. The face value of the equity shares is generally lower, that too of rupees 10 or 1. Next, market value. The market value of the equity shares, it fluctuates as it depends upon the demand and supply of these shares. It means if the company is earning huge amount of profit, it will declare higher rate of dividend, due to which the market value of the shares will increase. On the other hand, if the company incurs loss, the market value of the share will decline as the rate of dividend as the dividend will not be paid to the equity shareholders. Now last, that is capital appreciation. Capital appreciation, it means increase in the value of shares. So the value of the market value of the shares increases due to the profitability and the prosperity of the company, or when the reputation of the company increases, the value of shares also increases. For example, if the investors buys a shares for rupees 100 and in future, say after 6 months, the market price rises to rupees 120, then the difference of rupees 20 is nothing but capital appreciation. These were the features of equity shares. Now next, that is preference shares. Preference shares are those shares which have preferential rights regarding the repayment of capital as well as fixed rate of dividend, but they do not carry any voting rights. They can vote only in the matters which will affect their interests. So that's why they are known as the co-owners of the company, but not the controller. So they are the investors who are interested in safety of their investment and who wants steady returns on their investments. So that's why they are known as cautious investors. Now next, that is the features of preference shares. First, preference for dividend. Preference shareholders, they are paid the dividend before it has been paid to the equity shareholders, so they get the preference over the dividend. Means out of profit, first the dividend is paid to preference shareholders, then only it will be paid to the equity shareholders. Next, preference for repayment of capital. Even the preference shareholders have the preferential rights over the repayment of capital prior to equity shareholders. At the time of the liquidation of the company, first the capital has been repaid to preference shareholders, then only if any fund is left, it will be paid to equity shareholders. Next, fixed return. The preference shareholders, they carry the dividend at fixed rate, which has been predetermined at the time of the issue of preference shares. Means the preference shareholders, they get the fixed rate of dividend only out of the profits of the company. It means if the company does not earn any profit or bears loss during that period, no dividend will be paid to the preference shareholders. Next, nature of capital. So generally, the preference shares, they do not provide any permanent share capital, as the amount has been repaid to the preference shareholders after a certain period. It means the preference shares are issued for a specified term only. So after that period, the amount has been repaid to the preference shareholders. So it is a safe capital, as the rate of dividend and the market value does not fluctuate. Next, market value. Market value of the preference shares, it does not change, as the rate of dividend payable to them is fixed. Means they get the fixed rate of dividend, so due to which the market value does not change, due to which the capital appreciation is low compared to the equity shares. Next, voting rights. Preference shareholders, they do not have any voting rights, only can vote in the matters which affects their rights. For example, at the time of the terms of repayment of capital, or if the dividend payable to them are in arrears. On the other hand, they do not enjoy any right of control on the affairs of the company, even they cannot participate in the management of the company. Next, risk. The investors who are cautious, means those who want safety of their returns, that is the capital, or those who want the steady returns on their investment, that is the fixed rate of dividend, are invested in the preference shares, that is they are the cautious investors. Next, face value. Relatively, the preference shares value, face value is higher as compared to the equity shares. It may be up to rupees 100. Next, rights or bonus issue. Preference shares, they are not entitled to bonus issue or the right issue. It is given only to the equity shareholders but not to the preference shareholders. Next, last, that is nature of investors. Preference shares, generally it attracts the moderate type of investors, means those who are cautious regarding the safety of their investment, even those who want steady return on their investment. These were the features of preference shares. सो प्रेफरेंस शेयर अभी हम पढ़े प्रेफरेंस शेयर्स यानी वो शेयर्स रहते हैं जिनको अपन उनका पैसा रिपे कर देते हैं एक पर्टिकुलर समय के बाद, मीन्स पर्टिकुलर टाइम के बाद, और इवन जिसको अपन फिक्स रेट ऑफ डिविडेंड रिपे करते हैं, मीन्स जो पैसे उन्होंने अपनी कंपनी में इन्वेस्ट किए होंगे बाय वे ऑफ प्रेफरेंस शेयर्स, तो उनको अपन एक फिक्स्ड अमाउंट 10% बोलो 8%, ये फिक्स रेट ऑफ डिविडेंड अपन उनको रिपे कर देते हैं ड्यूरिंग दैट पर्टिकुलर पीरियड में, जितने समय के लिए उन्होंने पैसे इन्वेस्ट किए होंगे अपने कंपनी में बाय वे ऑफ प्रेफरेंस शेयर्स। हो सकता है 8 साल के लिए, हो सकता है 10 साल के लिए, तो वो पर्टिकुलर पीरियड के लिए अपन उनको 10% बोलो, 8% बोलो, 12% बोलो, तो फिक्स रेट ऑफ डिविडेंड अपन उनको रिपे कर देते। ये रहते हैं अपने प्रेफरेंस शेयर्स, लेकिन उनके पास कोई भी वोटिंग राइट्स नहीं रहता है, वो सिर्फ वही मैटर पे वोट कर सकते हैं जो उनसे रिलेटेड रहते हैं। इसलिए अपन उनको बोलते हैं कॉशियस इन्वेस्टर्स, मीन्स जो रिस्क लेना नहीं चाहते हैं और जिसको एक रिटर्न, फिक्स रिटर्न चाहिए रहते हैं, और जिनको अपने पैसे रिपे चाहिए रहते हैं आफ्टर ए पर्टिकुलर पीरियड, वो रहते हैं अपने प्रेफरेंस शेयर्स। अब इनकी फीचर्स रहता है प्रेफरेंस फॉर डिविडेंड, मीन्स उनको अपन पहले डिविडेंड रिपे करते हैं इक्विटी शेयर होल्डर्स के पहले। फिर दूसरा है प्रेफरेंस फॉर रिपेमेंट ऑफ कैपिटल, सेम वे अपन उनको कैपिटल पहले रिपे करते हैं इक्विटी शेयर होल्डर्स के, इसलिए उनको प्रेफरेंस रहता है कि पहले उनको कैपिटल रिपे किया जाए, उसके बाद भी कुछ फंड बचेगा तो इक्विटी शेयर होल्डर्स को। उसके बाद फिक्स रिटर्न, जनरली अपन प्रेफरेंस शेयर होल्डर्स को एक फिक्स अमाउंट ऑफ डिविडेंड रिपे करते हैं, मीन्स फिक्स रेट ऑफ डिविडेंड रिपे करते, हो सकता है 8%, 10%, 12%, 15%, 6%, तो एक फिक्स रेट रहता है जो अपन प्रेफरेंस शेयर होल्डर्स को रिपे करते हैं। सो दे कैरी द फिक्स रेट ऑफ डिविडेंड। फिर नेचर ऑफ कैपिटल, तो अब ये जो प्रेफरेंस शेयर होल्डर्स रहते हैं ये परमानेंट कैपिटल नहीं रहते, क्यों? क्योंकि अपन उनको सिर्फ पर्टिकुलर स्पेसिफाइड टर्म के लिए ही इशू करते हैं, एक पर्टिकुलर समय के लिए ही अपन इशू करते हैं। सपोज अगर आपने 15 साल के लिए प्रेफरेंस शेयर्स इशू किए तो 15 साल बाद वो टर्म कंप्लीट होने के बाद अपन उनको उनका पैसा रिपे कर देते हैं। मार्केट वैल्यू, अब मार्केट वैल्यू प्रेफरेंस शेयर्स की कभी भी चेंज नहीं होती क्योंकि अपन उनको डिविडेंड फिक्स्ड पे करते हैं, इसलिए वो रिफ्लेक्ट नहीं होता बाय द डिमांड एंड द सप्लाई। मीन्स चाहे कंपनी कोई भी रैंकिंग पोजीशन में रहे, चाहे कंपनी कितना भी प्रॉफिट अर्न कर ले, फिर भी द प्रेफरेंस शेयर्स होल्डर का जो मार्केट वैल्यू रहेगा वो सेम रहेगा, वो फिक्स रहेगा। मीन्स जो 100 रुपये अगर वैल्यू है मार्केट में, जो भी 100 रुपये के प्रेफरेंस शेयर्स अपने इशू किए होंगे तो लाइफ लॉन्ग तक वो 100 रुपये ही रहेंगे, वो चेंज नहीं होते हैं। देन वोटिंग राइट्स, प्रेफरेंस शेयर होल्डर्स को कोई भी वोटिंग राइट नहीं रहता है। इवन दे कैन नॉट पार्टिसिपेट इन द मैनेजमेंट ऑफ द कंपनी, लेकिन वो सिर्फ तब भी वोट कर सकते हैं अगर वो रिलेटेड उनके मैटर्स से रिलेटेड रहे तो ही। मीन्स अगर उनको कोई डिविडेंड पे नहीं किया गया होगा, 2-3 साल से एरियर्स में होगा, तो उस समय उनके पास अधिकार रहता है वोट करने का। या उनको अगर उनका कैपिटल रीपे नहीं किया गया होगा पर्टिकुलर पीरियड के बाद, तो तब वो वोट कर सकते हैं, अदरवाइज दे के नॉट वोट। उसके बाद रिस्क, जनरली द प्रेफरेंस शेयर होल्डर्स वो रिस्क बियर नहीं रहते, वो रिस्क लेना ही नहीं चाहते। मीन्स उनको अपना पैसा पर्टिकुलर पीरियड के बाद वापस मिल जाना चाहिए और स्टडी रिटर्न मिलना चाहिए। मीन्स फिक्स रेट ऑफ रिटर्न मिलना चाहिए जो भी पैसे उन्होंने इन्वेस्ट किए होंगे। देन फेस वैल्यू, अब जो प्रेफरेंस शेयर्स रहते हैं उनकी फेस वैल्यू जो रहती है जनरली हायर रहती है एज कम्पेयर टू इक्विटी शेयर्स। इक्विटी शेयर्स की 10 रुपये 1 रुपये रहती है फेस वैल्यू, वहीं प्रेफरेंस शेयर्स की 100 रुपये या उससे ज़्यादा भी रह सकती है। देन राइट्स और द बोनस इशू, अब ये राइट इशू और बोनस इशू अपन सिर्फ इक्विटी शेयर होल्डर्स को देते हैं, लेकिन प्रेफरेंस शेयर होल्डर्स के बाद ये पास ये दोनों भी राइट्स नहीं रहते, उनको ना ही कोई बोनस दिया जाता है ना ही उनको कोई राइट्स इशू दिया जाता है। नेक्स्ट लास्ट दैट इज द नेचर ऑफ इन्वेस्टर्स। अब जो प्रेफरेंस शेयर होल्डर्स रहते हैं ये कॉशियस इन्वेस्टर्स रहते हैं, मीन्स जो रिस्क लेना ही नहीं चाहते। तो ये थे फीचर्स ऑफ प्रेफरेंस शेयर्स। Now next, that is types of preference shares. So generally there are 8 types of preference shares: cumulative, non-cumulative, participating, non-participating, convertible, non-convertible, and redeemable and irredeemable preference shares. So first, that is cumulative preference shares. Cumulative preference shares are those preference shares which dividend gets accumulated. It means in any of the particular year, if the dividend has not been paid to the preference shareholders due to loss or insufficient profit, so that period's that period's dividend get accumulated for the next year. Means it will be paid in the next year when the company earns profit. So the dividend goes on accumulated, means then the arrears of this dividend will be paid in the year when the company makes the huge amount of profits or when it has sufficient profit, and it will be paid before making the dividend to the equity shareholders. So likewise, the unpaid amount on the dividend gets accumulated or carry forward to the next year. So the cumulative preference shares यानी वो प्रेफरेंस रहते हैं जिसका डिविडेंड जो रहता है वो एक्यूमुलेटेड होते जाता है। मीन्स अगर कोई पर्टिकुलर ईयर में अपन ने अगर उनको डिविडेंड पे नहीं किया है तो वो साल का डिविडेंड अपन उनको नेक्स्ट ईयर पे करेंगे जब कंपनी प्रॉफिट अर्न करेंगी। मीन्स वो सपोज अगर आपने ये साल प्रेफरेंस शेयर होल्डर्स को डिविडेंड पे नहीं किया तो नेक्स्ट ईयर जब कंपनी प्रॉफिट अर्न करेगी तब ये पिछले साल का भी डिविडेंड पे किया जाएगा और करंट ईयर का भी डिविडेंड पे किया जाएगा प्रेफरेंस शेयर होल्डर्स को। तो इसको बोलते हैं क्यूमुलेटिव प्रेफरेंस शेयर्स। नेक्स्ट दैट इज नॉन क्यूमुलेटिव प्रेफरेंस शेयर्स। नॉन क्यूमुलेटिव प्रेफरेंस शेयर्स whose dividend does not get accumulated, means if in the year if the company does not earn any profit or bears loss, and during that period if the dividend is not declared or not paid to the preference shares, then that period's dividend gets lapsed. It will not be paid to the preference shareholders, not even in the next year. मीन्स अगर वो पर्टिकुलर पीरियड पे डिविडेंड डिक्लेयर नहीं हुआ है, डिविडेंड पे नहीं हुआ है, कंपनी लॉस बियर कर रही उस वजह से या किसी और वजह से, तो वो पर्टिकुलर ईयर का डिविडेंड प्रेफरेंस शेयर होल्डर्स को पे नहीं किया जाएगा। इवन इट विल नॉट बी पेड इन द नेक्स्ट ईयर, इट गेट्स लैप्स, मीन्स इट गेट लॉस्ट फॉर एवर। मीन्स वो साल का डिविडेंड उनको कभी पे नहीं किया जाएगा, उसको बोलते हैं नॉन क्यूमुलेटिव प्रेफरेंस शेयर्स। नाउ नेक्स्ट दैट इज पार्टिसिपेटिंग प्रेफरेंस शेयर्स। पार्टिसिपेटिंग प्रेफरेंस शेयर्स आर दोज प्रेफरेंस शेयर्स who can participate or who are entitled to participate in the surplus profit of the company. Means in any of the year, if the company earns huge amount of profit, and after paying dividend to the preference shareholders, even to the equity shareholders, if again the profit has been left by the company, then at that time these preference shares have the right to participate in this surplus amount of profit. Means during that period they will get the fixed rate of dividend plus extra dividend on the surplus profit. On the other hand, non-participating preference shares, non-participating preference shares means those who cannot participate in the surplus profit of the company, means they have to be happy with the fixed rate of dividend, means they will get only the fixed rate of dividend. Now next type, that is convertible preference shares. Now this convertible preference shares are those shares which has the right to convert preference shares into equity shares after a certain or within a certain period. Means कन्वर्टेबल प्रेफरेंसेस वो प्रेफरेंसेस रहते हैं जो पर्टिकुलर पीरियड के बाद अपन उनको इक्विटी शेयर्स में कन्वर्ट कर सकते हैं. Next, that is non-convertible preference shares. Non-convertible preference shares which cannot be converted into equity shares means they will remain as a preference shares and their amount will be repaid after a specified term. Means non-convertible preference shares वो preference shares रहते हैं जिसको अपन equity shares में convert नहीं कर सकते, वो preference shares ही रहते हैं और उनके पैसे अपन उनको repay कर देंगे after a particular period. Next, that is redeemable preference shares. Redeemable preference shares means which can be redeemed after a certain period of time. So redeemable preference shares are the preference shares which has been issued for a particular period. You may say 8 years, you may say 10 years, 12 years or 15 years. Suppose if you are issuing the shares for 10 years, then after completing the 10 years we have to repay the amount to the preference shares, that is known as redeemable preference shares, means which has been issued only for a specified term. Now last, that is irredeemable preference shares. Irredeemable preference shares means on whom the capital has not been repaid during the lifetime of the company. Means the capital will be repaid only at the time of the winding up of the company is known as irredeemable preference shares. But according to the section 55(1) of the Companies Act 2013, a company cannot issue irredeemable preference shares. Means there are certain restriction has been imposed for issuing the irredeemable preference shares. So these were the types of preference shares. So here we have completed this second part in which we have learned the types of shares, equity shares, features of equity shares, second preference shares, its features and types of preference shares. So dear students, this part, second part is the most important part because from this part definitely one of the question is going to come in your board exam. आपके बोर्ड एग्जाम में इसमें से डेफिनेटली एक क्वेश्चन आएगा ही, तो इस पार्ट पे कंसंट्रेशन ज़्यादा देना. सो थैंक यू, हैव अ नाइस डे. So dear students, so this part, second part is the most important part from the exam point of view because definitely one of the question is going to come in your board exam from this part. सो ये पार्ट में से कंफर्म एक क्वेश्चन आने ही वाला है. सो इसको ये पार्ट को बहुत अच्छे से ध्यान से प्रिपेयर करना. चलो थैंक यू, हैव अ नाइस डे.